Groubert, what the
Yes,
hell is going on, man? Okay, we're live,
dude,
people.
it's just been crazy. It's just insane. I spent some time with your partner yesterday, Barnes, trying to go over this on Freeform Friday yesterday. We covered as much as we could. But this thing is in flux. I'll tell you that right now. This is actively live, like an active live volcano. So this story is not going to go away.
With that, I won't ask you too many details as to like specific.
No, it's okay. I don't care.
So you had to evacuate from your primary residence?
Yeah, because I don't know. You may not know the geography, but maybe some of your audience knows. Frequently, these fires happen out there. They had these, no water. They had the reservoir that was empty. There's a lot of reasons, a lot of blame to go around. However, that being said, all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, there was a fire in Griffith Park, and I live like literally in Griffith Park, and the fire was in back of the Hollywood sign, the famous Hollywood sign, Viva.
In back of the Hollywood,
absolutely,
not an accidental, fire.
No, absolutely, totally an arson by homeless. This has happened many times. Unfortunately, they put it out immediately all the time, but they didn't have any helicopters to deal with it, so it spread so fast that they called for the evacuation of Hollywood, which led to a disaster movie of total gridlock in the streets immediately. Whoever pulled that emergency evacuation in Hollywood per se, that's like evacuating Manhattan, and the fire is out in Long Island. You know what I mean? But in other words, this fire was right there in Griffith Park, and it was arsonists in intent, because we have had arrests in other years. But because everybody was busy out of Pacific Palisades, there were no resources, because that led to the fire trucks not being able to get through, complete chaos. Yeah, this is in back, and I live to the right of that. I hike up there all the time. It's right in front of my house. So I went outside, and I saw how far it was and how far it was spreading and what was going on. And I didn't want to get involved in the gridlock, so I waited till the next morning and left, and I fled down to San Clemente, the former home of the Nixon Western White House, deep into the southern region of Orange County, which is a beach community down here where I am now. That being said, this thing is far from over up north, because it's now on the precipice of Brentwood. And if it gets into Brentwood, the next door is Beverly Hills. If it comes over the hill into Brentwood, and it's in Mandeville Canyon right now, for people who know the layout of LA. Keep in mind, LA is the largest city and county in the country, just geography-wise, just sheer geography. This woman who is the mayor is merely the mayor of LA City. There's a lot of people don't understand what's going on. Yeah, she's not the mayor of Malibu. I'm having the mayor of Malibu come on the show on Tuesday. She's the mayor of LA City. Nobody in Pacific Palisades or Malibu voted for Karen Bass for mayor. It's out of their voting district. That being said, these are incorporated areas, like Pasadena is a separate incorporated area, as is Beverly Hills. LA City and LA County are two different things. LA County, in which the fires are in, is the largest county in America. It's 10 million people. That's the county. That's not her gig. But she is incompetent nevertheless, because LA City Fire, which is her responsibility, and LA County Fire, which is not, seem to have been completely DEI'd and made into a diversity training operation for large lesbian women.
It's almost a joke. Like, you try not to notice these things, but they're proudly lesbian. They're overtly lesbian women, and not that that changed anything, but it's just like when the focus is on that, it's clearly this. So Los Angeles, if you can trace my finger here as to where the fires are, you got the big fires on Malibu right here, where you can see the cursor.
Right. Yeah. So you can see how far away that is from from Pasadena. I've lived in Pasadena. If you look at Pasadena, right next to Pasadena, an inch up is Altadena, which is the next neighborhood. These are both middle-class, working-class neighborhoods, Pasadena and Altadena, not to be confused with Malibu and Pacific Palisades, which are not. So it's cutting a broad spectrum. And if you blow up that map, you might see Hollywood in there, when you'll see where I'm based, which is really Los Feliz in East Hollywood. It's a little tricky, but it's okay. I can explain it nevertheless.
Okay.
Karen Bass was in Ghana. She seems to not care about retail politics. She's an ideologue. She visited Cuba during Castro's regime over 50 times. She was involved with gun running into Cuba into the 70s and 80s, not the original 1958 gun running. She was investigated by the DA of Los Angeles at the time, somehow got cleared. She was involved in these Marxist revolutionary groups.
She's overtly Marxist. This is not, we throw around the term
this,
communist, right?
No, this is absolutely overt Marxist. In fact, Rick Caruso, who ran against her, stupidly did not stick around for the vote count. He went to bed with a substantial lead on election night. And 3 weeks later, as I said to you many times, after the long count, which the registrar refused to have any oversight, they came up with enough votes to make her mayor of Los Angeles and let the games begin. Because as mayor of Los Angeles, she immediately started to divert millions upon millions of dollars to DEI diversity causes, which Rick Caruso, as a builder, as a local Trumpian figure, would never have done.
And just if I may, you're talking this most recent election, like this is November. Okay.
Oh, no. Before the year before.
What was the margin by which she squeaked through after having found the votes?
I believe 1%. If I'd have to go back and look at it. They stopped counting when she had enough to win, which is what I've explained to you repeatedly. They've extended the limit of counting legally to 3 weeks.
Yep.
And they use every last minute of the 3 weeks that they need to defeat an opponent. And Rick Caruso was branded as a Trumpian figure, whatever the deal was. He is the biggest builder in Los Angeles. He is the one who builds the shopping malls. He builds restaurants. He builds everything, Caruso. That being said, and I'll try to explain this to you as clearly as possible. To get a 100% approval rating from the environmental agencies, and I mean, this is the equivalent of not environmental agency. I'm talking about the Sierra Club and that group, to get the 100% money that you need, the 100% approval rating, and the money that you need from the environmental lobby, which apparently is far stronger than the Israeli lobby out here. They need to check all the boxes. And all of those boxes means, among other things, the fire department is not allowed to dig gullies to be fire breakers. They're not allowed to use salt water right out of the ocean to put out fires. They're not allowed to get rid of the incredibly flammable eucalyptus trees that are fire bombs that are. This is all to get the 100% rating from the environmental lobby. And you need that in LA and SoCal to get elected. And it gives you millions of dollars in campaign money. They have a stranglehold on the politicians in Southern and Northern California. This is the problem. In other words, their climate change boobamisis is really just a distraction from the fact that they have a stranglehold and incredibly bizarre religious-like techniques to get that 100% rating, including not clearing brush, not getting rid of debris, not getting rid of eucalyptus trees, not allow gullies to be dug with bulldozers as trenches to cut off the fire, not allowed to use salt water because it affects the vegetation. You can't make this up.
No, well, so no, it's just like it's a comedy of errors that almost seems by design. It's not just that they don't cut down the eucalyptus trees. From what I understand, Mark, they plant them, right? They're like, people like the way they look. They are fast.
Also, the closing of the dams, the emptying of the aqueducts, the emptying of the reservoirs. This is not an accident. Don't let them bullshit you. They have been doing this for years. They hate dams. They hate reservoirs. They hate aqueducts. They hate anything that's man-made. They have stopped building them for 10 years, possibly longer in Los Angeles.
Just to clarify, your house you have not had your property burnt down?
Not that I know of. I'm not home, so I assume no.
My aunt is up.
I'm not at home. I mean, we fled in the morning to come down here and worry about that shit later. I don't really care about that.
We're gonna go to one by one. They plant eucalyptus trees. They're fast growing. They're tinderboxes. Everybody knows it. Okay. They don't dig like trenches, which would be a barrier. It would be like a vegetation barrier.
Right. There's berms and trenches. They're both. There's berms and trenches. They're not allowed. LA Fire Department in LA County is not allowed to do that. They had then been replaced by these DEI lesbian women because they were barking about these things. So the DEI.
Just to show you, I did not know. Karen Bass by the name, I was picturing If we're being honest, I was picturing a white, older Jewish lady, but I didn't know. Then I hear that she's in
Oh,
Ghana,
no,
and then like,
no.
why would she? Because I went to school with a Bass, and so that's
Yeah,
my
so
memory.
she went back to Ghana because it was the second inauguration of a corrupt dictator in Ghana. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. He was interrupted for his second term because of corruption and being a dictator. He won the second election. He was out just like Trump. He was in for 4, out for 4, and he just retook power through corrupt dictatorial means. She felt it necessary to leave the city of Los Angeles to help commemorate this Idi Amin Dada figure in Ghana and celebrate his inauguration while the city burned. You can't make this up.
I don't want to steal minutes. She was gone when it started. She didn't leave after.
No. But the warnings were coming for weeks because this is when we have Santa Ana winds. This is when we have a dry season. This is when this kind of shit happens. So she knew what she was doing, and there's all kinds of reasons that a mayor of a city doesn't go to a foreign African country to celebrate some foreign policy victory.
Well, I had to look up even why she's there. She's the mayor of LA. What the hell?
Yeah.
She has some prior involvement with the Ghanaian or African relations, and so I don't know.
Okay,
an all expenses paid trip to Ghana.
Okay,
so she's out when it happens. Okay, we're going to go through all of this. Eucalyptus, no berms, no trenches.
Right. No salt water. No salt water. You're right
because they're doing it now, but I guess too little, too late, and not even better. But the reason for the salt water is a lot of people say, why don't you run the salt water through the machines? You can't run the salt water through the mechanisms, but why don't you dump it? Is the excuse actually that salt water would harm the vegetation after it's used?
Well, that's the environmental lobby's excuse. Absolutely. Now, the story that nobody's talking about is the incredible sheer tonnage that Karen Bass just literally 20 months ago gave away to the Ukraine.
Yep.
And that includes airplanes, firefighting equipment, trucks. This is all firefighting stuff, not military equipment. She gave away almost 20% of the LA Fire Department's arsenal. She also today, refused the offer of help from the New York City Fire Department, saying we don't need your help. This is unprecedented.
I've been talking about the donating of the fire equipment to Ukraine. It happened in 2022, and they say I'm sure they say it wasn't surplus stuff because we were understaffed in any event. I drew the analogy to Justin Trudeau donating PPE to China in February 2020 when
but this is a fire plagued region, and now the chickens have come home to roost, or in this case, roast. They're not roosting; they're roasting.
Barnes
and I talked about it yesterday. There's a book about Malibu burning, and there's a leftist tradition that they want this all to burn down, that it's unnatural. There's also the political angle, like the Canadian situation, where there's ancient Indian burial grounds underneath Malibu. That's a long-known situation with the Native Americans. There's a lot of people on the left who are cheering the burning of this region.
No, from what I can see from videos, there's a lot of people on the left who are contributing to the burning by setting fires. The fire hydrants running dry, Mark. Now, I've several explanations. Some say it's only the fire hydrants at the higher elevations because there's not enough water pressure to get the water up to the higher elevations, as if that's an excuse. Thank you for telling me why it happened. The fact that it happened is the problem. Other reports are saying that the fire hydrants were broken, were not being maintained, and they knew it. They had cut the budget for this, and they didn't have the resources to repair and maintain the fire extinguisher.
Let me reiterate a story that we've covered many times on America's Untold Stories. The stealing of the fire hydrants for the metal and selling them to junk dealerships. They have been using cars to smash stolen cars. You can't make this up. To smash into the fire hydrants and steal them and take them to metal yards to get the money for the metal, the bronze and stuff that's in the fire hydrant themselves. This is an ongoing problem. It's cost tens of thousands to replace a fire hydrant. Many of them have not been replaced. There's just a hole there.
Oh
no, dude! This whole thing may bring maybe the greatest thing to ever happen to this region.
Bring California back
to put this under a national microscope. And to show, and he's scampering Newsom. He does not want his dirty laundry to be aired in public. He is running around like a chicken without his head to keep a lid on this and gaslight the American people into what is actually going on.
He wants.
It may be too big, though. It may be too big.
It's too big. There's too many eyeballs on it right now, and it's
Yeah.
reached what's the word? Cataclysmic momentum. He wants to control and censor disinformation and misinformation. And the fire. It's an amazing thing. I have these fights with people on the internet. It doesn't matter what your excuse is for why the fire hydrants didn't have water. If it's no pressure because it's high elevation, good explanation for something that you know is a problem. It's not new, this issue to California.
Well, I mean, the 118 million gallon tank has been under repair for years. So that was just foot dragging and bureaucratic stuff. But I'm saying to you,
flesh that out.
There's a reservoir nearby. It holds 118 million gallons. That was empty. The head of the LADWP came out, a woman who English is apparently her third language. She used to work for PG&E, which is the electric company up north that caused the fire in the north in Paradise, California. She's now the vice president of the LADWP here in Southern California. And she came out and said that she contradicted everything Karen Bass says. Her salary is $750,000 a year. And just moments ago, SoCal Edison revealed that one of their transformers caused the fire itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, so that caused one of the fires, and then once lefty eco-terrorists see it, it's a confirmed fact, and I've pulled it up. Everybody's seen it now, but it's.
I don't even blame them. I mean, the winds were 100 miles an hour. For them to take down, they should have turned off the power earlier, which is what they're supposed to do.
But then Biden is saying they cut the power, then they don't have generators to pump the water. That was their excuse for why the fire hydrants lacked sufficient pressure to actually have water.
I mean, it's definitely a domino effect. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, the proof's in the pudding. None of their planning worked. Whatever their finger pointing is, it's an excuse machine at this point. Trying to explain and cover their ass. David.